Okay, I see people starting to populate in the attendees list.
And by the way, Court, I think normally we would begin right at 6 p.m. But I think it's okay if we wait maybe a couple minutes after that, just to allow people to join in. So yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. It looks like we only have two people. Hopefully the two on the call can hear me. We're gonna give it just a few minutes past 6 to let other attendees roll in. So we'll just hold on tight until then. Looks like Chris. Chris, go ahead. You're unmuted. You might need to unmute yourself.
Yes, I can hear you.
Great.
And what about the chat option? I think the last meeting, the chat option was not enabled to get questions in through the chat. And, one of the problems with this format, this is all being recorded right now, correct?
That's right. Yes.
Okay. One of the problems with this format is, my understanding is the person that owned the property at 390 Spar had their hands raised in the last session on Monday, and they were not called on. They did not get to speak at the meeting that's going to rezone their own property, which is completely wrong.
Yeah. So on well, I believe address that part first. I believe the owner of 390 Spar was on the call and had their hand raised, but they weren't able to, for whatever reason, technology wise, weren't able to get they weren't able to speak. I believe that's right. Rena, do you recall? I think that's what
Yes.
happened.
So I believe it's Phyllis Weber. She's actually raising her hand right now. So we could go ahead and let her speak if we'd like. There will be an opportunity to speak as well during the open forum for today as well.
Okay, so before I end here, the fact that her technology didn't work when she needed it to work is all the reason why this meeting or any subsequent meetings need to be held live in person at the Cypress Center with a call-in option, with the technology option. This is relying on technology that might not be adequate for other people, or they might not have, and they should have full rights to this kind of meeting. Another thing is that we'll need this meeting recorded and available for us to review as well through the city's open government policies.
Yes, this meeting is being recorded.
Okay, so lastly, I'm going to need to bail out of this meeting early. Daphne Wolf has something to say early on in the meeting.
Yep.
So she needs to be allowed to speak straight up front. So go to Phyllis and let's hear what Phyllis has to say.
Okay, well, I'm gonna just wait a second for people to roll in. We can figure this out in just a second. Phyllis, I can unmute you if you want to say something real quick, but we'll actually have you speak about your property or anything during the actual meeting. Phyllis, you should be able to unmute yourself and try to speak.
This is Phyllis Weber. I'm trying to find out if anybody can hear me speaking.
We can hear you. It is echoing. If you are listening or calling in on a phone and a computer at the same time, that might be the issue. We can't hear you. It's just echoing.
Well, I tried last time, and should I hang up? Should I hang up the phone?
Are you on both the phone and the computer at the same time?
I guess so.
Yeah, if you want to just or just click on mute on one of the devices, possibly. I think we're getting feedback because you're on two devices in the same room.
Okay, how's that?
Better, thank you.
But you don't see me.
We don't
Why
see you.
don't you see me? I have my camera is up here.
I'm not sure if we actually ever have video of attendees in meetings.
Well, other meetings I've had, I've been able to. It's, first of all, we need to clarify the drawing. Are we starting the meeting now?
No, so I'm glad you're able to speak here, Phyllis. Let me address the rest of the people on the call. But I'm glad you're able to speak. And you can discuss the drawing aspect in just a moment. So everyone on the call, thanks for joining at 6:02. I might just give it another minute or so, and then we will begin the meeting. City staff is here. There are three of us on the call. It is myself, my colleague Rena, and my other colleague Ruth. So we will be the ones taking care of the call today. Let's see. I still see 3 hands up. So I can give you each a few moments to speak, but we're
Actually, Court, why don't we just
Yeah.
wait and just give it another minute, then start the meeting.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Ruth. So everyone with your hand raised, we'll get to you in a moment, but we're going to proceed as normal in a moment with our meeting. Okay, we'll just give it till 6:05, about looks like another minute on my clock, and then we'll get started here. Okay, well, I don't see anyone else coming in right now. So in the interest of everyone's time, we'll get things kicked off right now. So thanks everyone for joining us here tonight. This is a community meeting for the project. It's called the Olin Hotel. And the project is located at 425 South Winchester Boulevard. And there's also an aspect of the project at the adjacent parcel at 390 Spar Avenue. Some of you names look familiar. We noticed this project, and the city's notice had an typo basically describing the day as, I believe, Monday, September 28th, which does not exist. So in to kind of accommodate that mishap with the noticing, we are conducting this meeting tonight kind of as a second meeting. We do apologize for that issue, and this meeting will basically, we will provide the exact same information as was provided on Monday. So the meeting is being recorded. The meeting from Monday was recorded as well. If you're not aware on how to access the recorded meetings, you can let us know at the end of the call and we can help you figure that out. But the meeting on Monday was recorded, and the meeting tonight is being recorded as well. As noted on the slide, if you would like to provide any comments, please wait until the public forum. We'll go through the raise hand feature through Zoom. And if you're calling in on your phone and not a computer, you may need to click *9 on your phone in order to be able to unmute yourself and speak.
Court,
So, yes.
can I just interrupt? I'm sorry. Can
Please.
you please make Rena and I co-host just so we can help manage any other
Oh.
items in case they come up? Thank you.
Yes. Thanks, Ruth. Excellent. I think we are. Okay. Looks like we're good to go. All right. So, my name is Court Hitchens. I am the project's environmental project manager. I will be facilitating the meeting tonight. On Monday, our colleague Alec Atienza facilitated the meeting. Alec is the project's implementation project manager. Alec is reviewing the project and would be issuing the permit for construction of the hotel if everything is approved. We can get into that a little bit more later. I'm joined tonight by my colleague Rena. Rena is the project manager taking care of the general plan amendments for this project. And then we are also joined by principal planner Ruth, and Ruth is helping us facilitate this project, and we'll just be here providing support for Rena and myself. So the meeting agenda, we will play the presentation from the applicant team that occurred on Monday. We don't have the full applicant team here today. However, we will play the recording of the applicant's presentation from the meeting on Monday. We will then discuss the project components. We'll discuss the general plan amendment and text amendment components. We will present the environmental review that's going to be or undergoing review right now. And then we will get to the open forum portion where you will be able to comment or ask any questions you have. And then I do understand that we have Daphne Wolf here to speak. So I believe now is the time that we wanted to allow Daphne to speak, and then we'll get into the applicant's presentation. So Daphne, you are unmuted. If you would go ahead and speak, you should be able to go now.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. So I'm Daphne Wolf. I'm president of the Winchester Orchard Neighborhood Association. I wasn't able to be at the meeting on Monday because you scheduled it on Yom Kippur, which is the holiest day on the Jewish calendar. And I was wondering if that is now public policy for the city, because they haven't done that before. So that doesn't allow people of one faith to attend meetings. So that was your first mistake. I don't know if it's a mistake or a new public policy, but that, for those of you who don't understand, that's akin to you being required to attend a meeting on Christmas Day. So I'm not sure why that's happened, and I'd like an answer from someone in the city if this is new public policy or if this was just a terrible oversight in scheduling the original meeting. We had also asked for a meeting in person because we tend to get a lot of people at our meetings. And in the past 9-10 years since we have been running our neighborhood association, the planning department, as well as other departments and the city, anyone in the city for District 1 have always come to us and said, we'd like to hold a meeting on whatever project it is. Can you help us get people there? Let us know the date and time. And we've always been really great at partnering with the city and developers. We weren't informed about this at all. Many people didn't get the noticing cards. And of course, the noticing cards were wrong to begin with. Additionally, having a meeting on a forum like this doesn't allow us to even know who is here from the community. So we can't see that. So this meeting that you had on Monday, about 20 emails have come to me from the community wondering what the heck was going on, because they don't know who was there. They wanted to know if I was there, if I wasn't there, why wasn't I there? And there's no way, like I can't see right now, which would be different if I was sitting in the Cypress Community Center and I would know who was there and we could have an open and honest conversation. This doesn't allow for that. This is not open government. This is closing off the public part of it and not allowing us to see who's there. So it necessitated probably another 5 to 6 hours of meetings since that meeting on Monday just to try to clarify. I've had multiple phone calls with multiple people just to try to clarify all this. This community wants an in-person meeting about this. This has nothing to do with KT Urban and Mark Tersini and all of that. He's been great meeting with the community, and I want to compliment him on his meeting with the people involved. This has to do with the way the city has handled this meeting, and it's been very poor. We've met with multiple developers over the last 10 years and never had anything like this before. So what we're requesting is you actually don't have this meeting and that we have it in person at a later date.
Okay, Daphne. Well, thank you for the comments. I mean, certainly this is being recorded. Our management is aware of these things, and we can also bring back to the team that schedules these. Obviously, the conflict with a holiday and the desire for the community to have an in-person meeting. We can bring it back to staff and upper management and let them discuss that and figure that out. However, the request to not hold this meeting, I mean, we're already here and we do have others on the call, so we will proceed with the meeting tonight. And again, I thank everyone who's shown up tonight, and again, apologize for the confusion with the meeting notice having 2 different days on it. Let's go ahead, and I will just preface this meeting again kind of by saying, so I am the environmental project manager for this project, and my colleague Rena that will be presenting on the general plan amendment is handling the general plan amendment components of this project. We do not have a representative from the city's implementation team here tonight. That was Alec Atienza that presented at the last one. I will be presenting Alec's slides. However, I am not on the implementation planning team and most likely will not be able to answer questions specific to that. As last time, we will provide our contact information at the end, including the implementation side. We will take notes, and we can also follow up with any meetings or any questions following the meeting that are sent directly to us that way. So with that, Rena, do you want to pull up the applicant presentation?
Yes, and I just wanted to take a moment to say that as this is a repeat of Monday's meeting, I will go ahead and be sharing the recording, and this is the part where the project presentation is by the applicant. So give me just a moment here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. And I will go ahead and play the recording. And if you are not able to hear, please do interrupt me so that I can fix that. Thank you very much.
Rena, I can't hear it.
Yeah, I don't have any volume yet either.
Okay, let me pause for a moment here. Let me do a couple things here to see if I can fix that. Give me 1 second here. Here we go. Let's try this one more time. And let me go back a little bit. Okay. There we are.
Okay.
Okay, how about now?
Okay, hold on 1 second here.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Thank you.
so this is a recording from Monday for the applicant team, okay, everybody? And then once this is done, we'll continue with our live presentation.
Lights here. What do you think, Alec?
Oh yeah, please do go for it. You've got some time. Feel free to introduce
wonderful.
everybody.
Wonderful. I'll since I'm already talking, Eric Price with Lowney Architecture, the project manager and studio director here for our hospitality and commercial projects. Pleasure to be here and give you a little overview of our work. And my colleague Jung is here as well. Jung?
Yeah, Jung Seo from Lowney Architecture. I'm one of the senior designers working on the project. Nice to meet you, everyone.
We've also got with us from the design team here, let's see, Pete. There you are.
Pete Smith with HMH. We're the civil engineers and site development work, and we'll bounce it over to Dina Rosilli.
Hi, Dina Morsilli, also with HMH Engineers. I'm a senior planner here, helping with the land planning and entitlement process.
Kirk as well. Where are you, Kirk? I'm just kind of flipping through the heads on the screen here. There we are.
You want me? Hi, Eric.
Yeah,
Hi,
sure.
everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm Kirk Pedersen. I'm the president of Sightline Hospitality. We are a hotel management company that operates hotel properties all over the country.
Thank you, Kirk and Danae. What else have we got here?
Hello, my name is Danae Hall with Kimley Horn. We worked with the city on preparing the environmental document for the project.
Thank you. We've also got Mark and Jennifer as well. Oh, Jesse. Jesse's on the line too.
Hey everyone, great to be here with Sightline Hospitality.
Great. I'm Mark Tersini, the owner of the property and the applicant here this evening. I welcome the community members that are attending this evening. Just a little background on myself. I happen to be fast approaching my 65th year on October 7th, and I was born and raised on Moore Park Avenue, just a little east of Winchester Boulevard. So spent quite a bit of time in and around this area as a young individual, riding my bike through what was Town and Country, is now Santana Row, and through the theater property when it was actually under construction. So spent quite a bit of time here. My grandparents lived on Stevens Creek Boulevard at the time. And over the last 35 years, my brother Ken and myself have been doing development in and around San Jose. And we love the community and very much looking forward to moving this hotel forward to make it a reality. Thank you.
And hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer Jadoin. I am assisting Mark in this process and have worked with him for multiple years. So thank you for everybody attending tonight.
Thank you. I think we got everybody, so why don't we just get to flipping through some slides here. This first slide is an aerial image of the area with Santana Row and the mostly commercial area here. Page right. The little yellow box in the center represents the project site, and to the left, a more lower density residential zone. What this is beginning to demonstrate here is that the project's really in a bit of a transition zone, but well within what's a mixed use and commercial zone. And one of the things we're going to do, and we'll see in the images that are forthcoming, the overall design goal really was to limit impacts here, visual and otherwise, on the residential neighborhood, and create a building that really fit in with both commercial uses on one side, residential on the other. This is that little yellow box you saw on the previous slide. Our overall site plan with Winchester still at the right side of the page. Spar Avenue, the more residential character street to the left. The site diagrams demonstrating a couple things. One, points of access and entry, service, pedestrian entries here in blue, vehicular entries in red. What we're seeing here is what we really strive to do is try to make sure that we could position as many of our driveways and access points away from Spar, closer to Winchester, where they're better connected and the connectivity is back towards the commercial side.
Right. I think another important thing to point out is the massing of the building. The bulk of the massing is really geared towards Winchester, since it is a much more of a commercial street and has a lot of larger scale buildings. And so we try to set back as much as we can from Spar Avenue.
One of the other things this helps to do is that as we're pushing the construction, sort of page south and west, gives us an opportunity here in the northwest corner to maintain a nicely landscaped area. We're keeping a couple of existing trees in a pretty good size. We'll add a few into the mix, and another way that we can buffer and otherwise treat that west side of our project in a way that's appropriate for the residential scale.
And then as we start to get into the architecture of the building and the design of the building, the first step that we always take a look at is really the context and what's, directly adjacent to the site. And this is just a very, very simple diagram of the blue area representing commercial areas or mixed use areas, and then the yellow representing the residential. So it's kind of in this location of the site where you are sort of abutting the residential, and you're also within the larger sort of commercial zone there. And then really kind of understanding what the architecture is within the neighborhood. You have the smaller scale residential on the left-hand side, and obviously everybody knows Santana Row and the type of architecture it is. It has a much more of a larger scale. You know, it's broken down sort of vertically, you know, sort of changing styles as you go down the street. And then also there's a series of office buildings on Winchester that we're directly adjacent to, and including the parking garage. So then as we look at the main corner, this is Winchester and Olin. The side facing Winchester, which has sort of the bluish tile there, is again kind of responding to the context of Santana Row. A lot of the vertical fenestrations there, creating some sort of a rhythm and a pattern along Winchester. And then as you turn the corner towards Olin, and as you go down the street there, it softens up a little bit. We start to angle the floor plates a little bit more, and we start to introduce some of the sloping roof planes. The ground floor is really all about activity and permeability. We want to open the ground floor as much as possible. We want to create that active environment with the pedestrians. We're trying to create as much openings as possible there, and also provide outdoor seating in that zone. So here's a closer view along Winchester. We have a secondary entry off of Winchester here for pedestrians into the lounge, and it's also accessible to the lobby. The left-hand side is some sort of a food and beverage, like a bar or a lounge. And then the right-hand side is also a food and beverage. But we really imagine this whole ground floor space to be a continuous space. So as you enter that space, you really feel like you're entering all three of those at the same time. It's really supposed to be one continuous space. And then and again, we're trying to reduce the scale a little bit at the ground floor, introducing a canopy, provide a little bit of shelter. We have planters along the edges there just to create a little bit of buffer between the outdoor seating and the pedestrians in the street. But again, the idea is to have as many operable doors on Winchester as possible so that we can really be able to experience the indoor-outdoor experience. And then as you directly turn the corner on Olin, it's really the same thing. You know, getting it as active as possible, doing some sort of a feature light fixture at the corner so that it's highly visible from the corner. And then you can see that up towards the left there, it sort of leads you into the drop-off zone. So this is looking sort of east. You can see a little bit of Santana Row on the right-hand side there. And we're trying to make that connection to Santana Row as friendly as possible. This is, you know, what we're trying to do here is create some sort of a warmer palette for the entry. Reintroducing some of that tile that was on the main facade down at the base just to create that texture and color. And then a little bit of landscaping to have some screening with the pedestrians and the cars. And this is just one of the images from the second floor amenity deck. Again, I think what we intend for this space to feel is just, it's really more of a quiet social zone. We have a lot of sort of relaxed kind of lounge seating there. We have fitness to the right-hand side. We do have a pool there, but it's really more just, it's very, you know, low depth pool, about a couple of feet. It's really just some place for you to be able to sit down and relax in the water. The exterior perimeter of this deck is really surrounded by a stone wall and a green wall. It gives it a little bit more privacy with the residential on the left-hand side. We're also introducing a sort of a feature water wall just to create some nice ambient sounds with the neighborhood. And then in the background over there, you see a little bit more casual seating, a little bit more kind of food and beverage area on the back. I'll actually focus a little bit more on the beverage, not necessarily food. Here?
And this is actually a view from a conceptual view from a neighboring property. That whole area we were just looking at, that second level deck, is sort of at the top of this image. This is just a representation of a property line wall, again continuing this the importance of privacy and screening for the neighborhood. This is still a work in progress, working with the adjacent neighbors to finalize what this exact texture might be. So this is kind of again a work in progress. And you can see behind that wall a couple of trees that we'll be adding as part of the projects.
And then finally, talking about the material palette, I think, the main material that we're really focusing on is this tile or sort of a glazed brick on the main facade on Winchester. We think that this is a great opportunity to add some color and texture to the street. And then really on the ground floor, we're putting sort of the warmer palettes, such as the metal panels with the wood grains, so that again, anything that's you're closer down to the pedestrian level, we're trying to introduce that warmer palette there, possibly having some Corten steel planters at the bottom, at the base also. And then as you transition towards Olin, it's a very, very clean facade with sort of metal panels, standing seam metal panels with varying texture so that it gives you a little bit more of that sort of that residential feel as we go down Olin. And that concludes the presentation portion.
Happy to hand it back to staff.
Awesome.
Okay. And let me go ahead and stop sharing. Court, if you can go ahead and share your screen again, that would be great. And I did want to say that we do have the project applicant attending here with us today. Mark or anyone from, did you want to speak or would you like to wait for questions later?
Thank you very much, Rena. Mark Tersini, the project applicant, is here this evening as well. I also want to apologize to the community for the misstep of a Monday meeting and a Thursday meeting here. I've met with Daphne and Chris directly, and I'm more than happy to have a direct community meeting with their group, wherever they would like to hold that meeting. I have no issue to do that. It would be nice to do it in a relatively short period of time here as time is moving along, and I'd like to be able to address that. It does not have to have staff presentation or participation unless Daphne and Chris, you would like that. We're happy to share any more information that we can to the community as we're moving this project forward. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mark. Let's see here. Court, should we move forward? I did notice that I think Daphne raised her hand.
Yeah, I mean, Daphne will unmute you real quick. It seems like a response to Mark, but we'll hold the rest of comments till the end.
Yes, thank you, Mark. That would be great. I'm going to offer up probably my house for the meeting in a week or so. Let's get together and get a date so that people can show up. Okay. You're welcome.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mark, and thanks, Daphne. Okay, so we will continue on with the presentation here. Just to clarify once more, I will be going over my colleague Alec Atienza's slides on the implementation side for this project. I am not the expert on his material, but I have gone through it. So we'll get into that now. So we're going to talk project components. Again, this project consists of a general plan amendment, general plan text amendment, and a special use permit. So here we have the project location and the existing conditions. And as the applicant's presentation discussed, you can see the site here highlighted in this kind of teal color. So the project is located on the northwest corner of the intersection of South Winchester Boulevard and Olin Avenue. It's situated just west of Santana Row and north of Freeway I-280. At 425 South Winchester Boulevard. The project site at 425 South Winchester is an approximately 0.55 gross acre parcel that is currently developed with a vacant gas station. The site at 425 Winchester has a general planned land use designation of mixed use commercial, and the zoning district is mixed use commercial as well. To the west of the project site is 390 Spar Avenue, which is an approximately 0.22 gross acre parcel that has an existing development of a 2-story office building being used as a business center, I believe. And the site at 390 Spar has a general plan land use designation of residential neighborhood, and the zoning district is R18 for single family residences. If you can see my cursor here again, just to go back over, this portion, the larger square here, is where the hotel would be developed. And this smaller rectangle to the left side here is not being, there's no physical development going on here. There was discussion, there was a parking garage. That's not the case. So there's no part of the hotel that's going to be developed on this left parcel here. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so the project components, as I mentioned, there's a general plan amendment component and then a special use permit component. So the general plan amendment portion is required to change the general plan land use designation of 390 Spar Avenue from residential neighborhood to mixed use neighborhood. And that would also change the zoning conformance from R18 to the mixed use neighborhood zone. The general plan text amendment is intended to change the Santana Row Valley Fair Urban Village Plan height for the parcel at 425 South Winchester, in addition to the setback and daylight plane requirements, since it is adjacent to residential or an urban residential designation. And then lastly, the special use permit is intended to, or is applied for in order to remove 3 trees on the existing site, to demolish the existing gas station, and then allow for construction ultimately of an approximately 90,797 square foot, 176 room hotel on that approximately 0.55 acre site. The special use permit also is applying for an alternative parking arrangement for valet and offsite parking. And then the special use permit application also requests one-time 24-hour concrete pour to occur on a Saturday. So here I will pass it to Rena, and Rena can discuss more in depth the general plan amendment and general plan text amendment for this project.
Thank you, Court. Before we move forward, I did notice Daphne's hand is still raised. Let me go ahead and let's see here. I believe you should be able to unmute. Did you have anything that you needed help with? And feel free to unmute. Okay.
Sorry, my hand was still up from last time. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for clarifying. Yeah, so let me go ahead and keep going. So Court, if you can move to the next slide, please. Yes, so I will be presenting a short background on what the general plan is, what the urban village plan is, why we have these plans, and how it relates to the project that's being proposed. A general plan is a state mandated document, and it's the city's official policy regarding its future character, land use patterns, and quality of development. In other words, its purpose is to offer a vision for the future. It sets goals and major strategies to achieve them. And it took several years of community engagement and hundreds of participants to finalize the general plan. The current plan is titled Envision San Jose 2040 General Plan, 2040 being the year we aim to achieve the goals outlined in the plan. Next slide, please. So with the general plan, there are many goals and policies, as well as the land use and transportation diagram, as you can see on the slide. This diagram maps out the planned land uses and transportation network throughout the city. Every parcel in the city has a specific land use designation. Sometimes we call this the color of the map. Like the map legend on the right shows, each color signifies a different land use designation that identifies types and intensities of future development on that parcel. Next slide, please. So the general plan requires the development of urban villages that are active, walkable, transit-oriented mixed-use settings for new housing and job growth. Urban village plans are prepared at a finer level of detail for a specific area when addressing land use and urban design. In the map here, it shows approximately 60 urban village areas that have been identified in the general plan. General plan and urban village plans contain policies, guidelines, and standards. Modifying these plans does require a general plan text amendment application. And the process, which you will see on the next slide, is the same for a general plan amendment application and requires approval by the City Council. Next slide, please. So what is it? A general plan amendment is a process to change the existing land use designation for a particular site. So that basically means we change the color on the land use transportation diagram that I showed earlier. This change affects the allowed uses and the densities on a particular site. So in a few slides, I will be showing you what the general plan amendment would be for this project, or how it relates to the project and how it affects the uses and densities. A general plan text amendment is a process to change the text, such as policies or standards, as well as corresponding images in a general plan or urban village plan. So the applicant submitted their general plan amendment application around March. In the months of March through November, staff reviews the application for conformance with general plan policies and conducts environmental analysis. We include a community meeting, which is the purpose of today, to hear feedback from community residents. After the community meeting, staff will summarize the results of the policy analysis, environmental analysis, and public comments into a staff report for a November Planning Commission hearing. In early November, a hearing notice is sent out to inform the community about the upcoming Planning Commission hearing. And the final step would be to bring the staff report to City Council for a final decision in December. Next slide, please. So now I'd like to go into the specifics of the general plan text amendment as it relates to the project. As you've already heard, the project site is located at 425 South Winchester Boulevard, and it is within the Santana Row Valley Fair Urban Village Plan. The plan itself was adopted in August of 2017 by City Council. The vision for the plan is to emphasize existing mixed-use development areas to provide interconnected network of open spaces integrated with public art, respecting the existing single-family neighborhoods, and to improve bike and pedestrian connection within the village and to adjacent neighborhoods. So the map on the left shows the land use designations for the parcels within the Santana Row Valley Fair Urban Village Plan boundary. It is important to note that a standard is a requirement that must be met in future efforts, and a guideline is a recommendation that should be incorporated into future efforts. And just so you know as well, 390 Spar Avenue is directly adjacent, like Court had mentioned earlier, to 425 South Winchester Boulevard and is just outside of this boundary. Next slide, please. Now I will go ahead and talk about the general plan text amendment for the 425 South Winchester Boulevard with the proposed building height amendment. So the diagram on the left is a building height map of the Santana Row Valley Fair Urban Village Plan. And the existing height right now is shown in light blue, and it is 65 feet. The proposed text amendment is a height change from 65 feet to 85 feet at 425 South Winchester Boulevard. Next slide, please. So the building placement and bulk standards that is in the Santana Row Valley Fair Urban Village Plan are different for residential and non-residential. And as you can see highlighted in the blue square, the rear setback for non-residential states a minimum of 10 feet. For new development adjacent to residential neighborhood and urban residential land use designations, the table references figure 5-3, which I will show you on the next slide. Next slide, please. In addition to the height change, the applicant has requested a general plan text amendment for the side and rear setback and a daylight plane for new development when adjacent to residential land use designations. The image on the left is figure 5-3, which I had mentioned, for new development adjacent to residential neighborhood and urban residential land use designations. So, as you can see on the slide here, number 1, the proposed setback amendment is 40 feet to 20 feet when adjacent to residential neighborhood land use designations. Second, the proposed step back, or what we also call the daylight plane amendment, is from 45 degrees to 75 degrees when adjacent to residential neighborhood land use designations. Next slide, please. Now I will go ahead and discuss the general plan amendment proposal for 390 Spar Avenue. So the existing general plan land use designation for the site 390 Spar Avenue is residential neighborhood. This designation typically allows a density of up to 8 dwelling units per acre and has a floor to area ratio of up to 0.7 or 1 to 2.5 stories. This designation is intended for small lot single family residences. Next slide, please. So the proposed general plan land use designation for this site for 390 Spar Avenue is mixed use neighborhood. So this designation allows a density of up to 30 dwelling units per acre, but in this case, as you can recall, the site is approximately 0.22 gross acres, which calculates to a maximum of about 6 dwelling units. This designation also has a floor to area ratio of 0.25 to 2.0 or 1 to 3.5 stories. This designation also supports commercial or mixed use development and is typically used to provide transition between higher density and lower density neighborhoods. Next slide, please. And here, I just wanted to show a side-by-side of the, on the left-hand side, the existing residential neighborhood land use designation, and on the right side, the proposed mixed-use neighborhood land use designation. Next slide, please. So the state of California passed a bill in 2018, and it's called SB Senate Bill 1333, and it requires the general plan and the zoning on a site to be conformed, which is why we are presenting both the general plan land use designation and zoning district. So as part of the general plan amendment process, the city requires that applicants for any general plan amendment also apply for a rezoning so that general plan land use designation and zoning district are conforming. And so for 390 Spar Avenue, the site currently has an R18 zoning district, which is the typical zoning district used for single family homes. The maximum height for homes is 35 feet, which is approximately 2.5 stories. The zoning supports single family homes and certain in-home businesses, and the zoning district is consistent with the currently existing residential neighborhood general plan land use designation. Next slide, please. So the proposed zoning district for this site, as I had mentioned, to conform with SB 1333 is MUN, mixed use neighborhood. The maximum height for a detached single family or duplex under MUN is 35 feet or 2.5 stories. The maximum height for a townhouse or multiple dwelling mixed use or commercial is 45 feet or 4 stories. Next slide, please. And lastly, here is a side-by-side of the existing R18 zoning district, and on the right, the proposed MUN mixed-use zoning district. And with that, I will go ahead and pass it back to Court, who will go ahead and discuss the environmental review process. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Rena. Yes, so Court Hitchens, I am back to present on the environmental review that's ongoing for this project. I am the environmental project manager. So the project will be reviewed under the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. That's a state law that requires state and local agencies to disclose and evaluate the significant environmental impacts of proposed projects, and then to adopt all feasible mitigation measures to reduce or eliminate those identified impacts. So CEQA considers several impacts according to the CEQA guidelines Appendix G checklist form shown here. So all of these items will be and are being reviewed for any potentially significant impacts that would arise from construction or operation of the project. So currently we are working on the initial study for this project. An initial study, or as it's also known as an IS, is a preliminary analysis document prepared to determine the environmental impacts associated with the proposed project. An IS is designed as a measuring mechanism to determine if a project will have a significant environmental effect, thereby triggering the need to prepare a more full environmental impact report. An IS also contains information which supports conclusions that the project will not have a significant environmental impact, or that the impacts can be mitigated to a less than significant or a no impact level. So what is a mitigated negative declaration? For this project, again, the initial study is still in draft form, but it does assume that the project can be completed as a mitigated negative declaration. So if the IS or initial study identifies potentially significant impacts, but revisions to the project or proposal would avoid those effects or mitigate the effects to a point where no significant effects would occur, or if there is no substantial evidence that the project as revised may have a significant effect on the environment, then a mitigated negative declaration shall be prepared. What that means is we evaluate environmental impacts against certain thresholds. For example, if we look at air quality, there may be a certain amount of emissions that would be considered a significant effect under CEQA. However, if the applicant, let's say, switches from using diesel equipment to all electrically powered equipment, depending on the air quality studies, that may show that mitigation would reduce that impact to a less than significant level. And that's what a mitigated negative declaration would provide. So specific to this project, the initial study is underway in draft form, as I've mentioned, and it is nearing completion of the draft. Once that draft document is completed, it will be publicly circulated for 20 days. During the 20-day period, the initial study will be available online. It will also be available in hard copy at City Hall and at the downtown Martin Luther King Jr. Library, as well as the library closest to the public site in case anyone wants to see the hard copy of that document. Any individuals or interested parties are able to review and comment on that document during that 20-day public circulation period and provide those comments and questions to the city. Following conclusion of the 20-day public review period, the city will consider adoption of that ISMND initial study mitigated negative declaration document, together with any comments received during the public review process at a regularly scheduled meeting that we'll talk about in just a moment. And if the MND, the environmental document, is adopted, that would allow the city to proceed with project approval actions, permit issuance, and other things. So the project review steps, I'm just going to describe where we are now and what the process looks like for this project in general moving forward. So currently, we're in the project review phase, and we're also in the environmental review phase. So these are occurring simultaneously. As I mentioned, the environmental document will be completed shortly. Once it is, it will be publicly circulated for public comment period. Following the close of that public comment period and also the completion of the implementation and general plan team staff reports, the project will go to Planning Commission. notices will be provided for that planning commission hearing, and comments from the public are accepted at that planning commission hearing. The planning commission will review the project, and they will make a recommendation for city council to consider. So following the planning commission hearing, public notices will go out for the city council hearing date. The public is also welcome to sit in and comment during that hearing, and the city council will ultimately make the recommendation as to whether they would like to approve or modify the project. And then, not shown on this slide, but let's say that the project is approved by city council, the general plan and the CEQA, the environmental documents, the special use permit, which is specific for construction of the hotel, removal of the trees, those other aspects that I mentioned. The special use permit would go to a director's hearing that would be noticed for at a later date. So again, if the project is approved by city council, the general plan aspects are approved by city council, I should say, the special use permit will still need to go to hearing by the director of planning, and that will also be noticed at a hearing to follow the city council meeting. Okay, so that concludes staff's presentation here. So now we are in the open forum portion. If you do have any questions or comments, now is the time to provide those. And I will mention once again, Rena and I will do our best to respond to any questions or comments here now. We are also taking notes, and we may request that additional questions be sent to the implementation team, or potentially we might need to take things back in order to provide a response from the city. Just since there are only 2 of us here, not the entire applicant team or city staff are here this evening. With that, let me check for raised hands. Looks like Daphne has her hand up. Daphne, it looks like you
Okay.
should be able to speak. We can. Thank you.
I'm just going to ask a quick question, let everybody else who has questions get in. Rena stated that on the 390 Spar property, that the reason for the rezoning had to do with the applicant, but did the 390 owner put in for this, or was this triggered because of the 425 Winchester property? And if so, was the person at 390 notified before a sign went up on their property?
Yes, so thank you for the question. I believe Phyllis on the call. Phyllis, if you can hear us, I believe Phyllis is can discuss the 390 property. Phyllis, if you're able to unmute and speak to that question, please go ahead.
We were approached about changing that designation in order to have the project go ahead, and at the time that seemed like a proper thing to do. Now I'm noticing that this is not, I thought it was a 5-story building, and now I notice it is definitely more than a 5-story building, because I didn't realize that it had all the commercial and that there were stores and everything underneath in it in addition. So it's certainly much more than a 5-story building. I've been there 25 years. My daughter's been in her house for 25 years. And that many years ago, at the time that we changed it, that we remodeled and made the building that when we got it was zoned one way, and for beauty shops, I think it was. And then we added the 2nd story so that we could have my husband's office there. I never understand why our property is lumped in with the hotel on the drawings, because believe me, it creates a hue and cry in the neighborhood, because people don't understand that the hotel is not going to take over where we are. I don't even, of course, we don't like it that we have to have an 8-foot high fence. And the particular design of it we're still in still not in agreement quite on what that will be, because we wanted our side of it to be a little more user-friendly approach. So I just think that first of all, our neighbors need to know that I'm not going anywhere. I've been there 25 years, and at the time that we built, there's another department. I don't have the name of it on the tip of my tongue, but there's another department in the city where we were zoned professional, and that's why I can have professional people there. I have counselors and insurance people and that kind of thing. That's why there's a sign out there in the front that says, what the building is. So I don't know why it gets called residential and why that needed to be changed, but apparently changing it has some benefit to the developer. And maybe when I'm 106 or so, I'll find out why.
Oh, sorry, Phyllis, continue.
Well, I absolutely agree with Daphne that we should have an open meeting where people can be there and truly understand. And there would be as she stated, there would be a good attendance, and I would certainly be there absorbing all that I can. But I'm looking at the drawing. I was a little shocked. I had no idea that you were going to have outside seating and a pool, a lap pool. That was a surprise to me. And that there are apparently balconies at the back of the building. I thought it was just a straight up and down, or at least a setback, but I didn't know that it would entail balconies, and that is a bit of a shock too. So that's about it for me tonight. I'm, got lots of things to think about.
Thank you very much, Phyllis. That was very helpful for you to provide your information as the, I believe, property owner or the one in control of the property at 390 Spar. I will give the applicant.
Yes, well, let me say also that, I do have the one next door, and my daughter has lived there for 25 years. So I just, yes, we own both properties. They happen to come on the market at the same time, and I bought it 25 years ago from a place for my daughter to live.
Excellent. Thank you. If someone from the applicant team would like to just respond to any of those statements made, please go ahead. I believe you can unmute yourself.
Yeah. Can I share my screen really quick?
Yes, go ahead and try. I can stop sharing if necessary. Let's try.
Are we trying to talk to Young?
Yes, this is Jung from Lowney Architecture.
You say Jung. Okay, my Chinese is not good.
Can you stop sharing, or
Yeah,
can I
let
just
me-
share? Okay.
I promoted you to co-host. I can stop sharing if it's not letting you.
Yeah, it's not letting me share right now. Oh, there. Okay, hold on a second here.
You all were
Okay.
working that in. It's Eric at Lowney Architecture. Hi, Phyllis. This is here we go. I think we heard Phyllis, you saying lap pool. Definitely not a lap pool. It's a little bit more of a decorative, very shallow what would you call it, John? It's almost like a splash,
Yeah, it's really more for sort of
Yeah.
ambient sounds.
like a water feature.
It's really more of a water feature. It's
Yeah.
going to be at, you know, at most 2 feet deep, so there's nobody can really swim or, you know, actively, you know, play in the pool. It wasn't meant for that. We do also have a screen wall on the left-hand side over here. We have a stone wall here, then also a green wall in the background over here, so it's going to be completely isolated. And we do want to also point out that there are absolutely no balconies on the project. So
Mhm.
anything you see over here on the right-hand side, there are no balconies either on this side or on the side facing Winchester.
I see that now. The other drawing showed consistent setback, as though each
Hmm.
floor was set back from the other.
I believe that might have been the
Um,
city's step back drawing potentially.
Okay.
That one,
Wow.
Phyllis, was intended as a
Hmm.
just to explain a city policy. But I see how that could have been confusing there.
Well, again, I look forward to your having a meeting that can be attended by everybody because, you know, people don't understand. And we are persona non grata. And I'd like to have a chance to be in a meeting where everybody can attend.
All right. Understood. Anything else from the applicant team, or I can continue a little bit?
Oh.
Seeing none. Okay. So just to touch on another comment that was made in the maps that we've shown for the project site, I know there's been a little confusion with the 425 South Winchester parcel and the 390 Spar. Those are shown because they, as proposed by the applicant, there would be general plan amendments to both parcels. However, to clarify again, the hotel will only be built at, perfect, thank you, at 425 South Winchester, that larger yellow rectangle outlined in black. And as indicated here, no development is proposed at 390 Spar. There would be general plan text amendment and land use amendment, but no development. The hotel would not be on that site. I see a hand raised. Okay, Daphne, you should be able to speak.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify because I don't want Phyllis to have to be 106 when she gets the answer to this. Why does 425 asking for a general plan amendment trigger her general plan amendment and allow the city to place a sign on her property?
Rena, would you like to speak to the general plan amendment? Otherwise, I can provide my information.
Yeah, let me see here. Would you mind sharing the city slides really quick? I think, let's see. Which slide is
And I
most
do know that it has to do with the new Senate bill, but I don't understand. I understand that if she had asked for remodeling or something on her own property, that it automatically would have triggered that. But why does the other property, which has nothing to do with her property, trigger that?
Yeah, so Court, if you can go to the slide that shows the setback and the daylight plane.
This one.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, so Daphne, when the applicant came to us with their proposal, I believe the proposal included a change in the setback as well as the step back plane. As you can see here in the image, and this figure 5-3 is in the Santana Row Urban Village Plan. I don't recall which page it's on, but it is there. And as you can see, the setback currently is 40 feet for new development that's adjacent to residential and urban land use designations. And then the daylight plane, as you can see here, is 45 degrees. And so my understanding is that the applicant requested any kind of like alternatives to be able to modify this so that rather than having the 45-degree daylight plane, to shift it. And the only alternative that we were able to find was the 390 Spar Avenue, for it to be from a residential designation to mixed use neighborhood land use designation. Doing so, as you can see, the point is that it would go from being adjacent to residential neighborhood to being adjacent to commercial, right? And so what that means is the project would know the side of the project that is directly adjacent to 390 Spar Avenue would not have to follow the standards that are listed on within this diagram that you see here. Does that make a little bit more sense, hopefully?
Yeah, I understand it now, but I would make a
Okay.
I would make a suggestion in the future that you let a homeowner know before you place a sign on their property, because Phyllis didn't know that was coming. And it created a big problem on the street because as Phyllis said, the map isn't clear and everyone thought she was selling her property and it was becoming part of the Olin Hotel. So, and I'm not sure if the city is allowed to do that, to just go and place something on somebody's property without telling them they're going to be doing that.
I see. So are you, for my own clarification, are you talking about the on-site sign that is placed like in front of the property?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you for that comment. Yes, I will record that.
Dina, I think it's
chime in. Oh yeah, go ahead, Dina.
I was just gonna say, I think it's important to clarify that, you know, the applicant team did not submit a general plan and zoning application for 390 Spar without Phyllis's consent. She did sign those applications and it was discussed ahead of time.
I know that, but she didn't know what it was going to trigger on her side in terms of the sign and the fact that it's not clear and created a neighborhood problem.
It certainly did. Well,
I just want to clarify that the city doesn't post the signs. We, the project manager produces the signs and gives them to the applicant. So the city staff doesn't actually go out there and post these signs on projects.
Perhaps Mark can speak to that point.
Hi, this is Jennifer Jadoin with KT Urban. I was in correspondence with Phyllis about the sign. I was in correspondence with her about what the sign would say and about the timing of the sign being installed. So
what are you telling me that you asked me ahead of time?
Yes, Phyllis. So we had an email correspondence about this.
I never heard from anybody until I was told that there was a sign on my property.
I'm sorry that you.
If you have documentation, do you have documentation of a phone call or something with me? Because the sign appeared after, I talked with Mark and the sign appeared. I just thought it was part of the routine of what was needed for whatever was needed. But
I apologize if that was the case. I had corresponded with you, and I apologize if if it wasn't understood that was being placed on the property and where it was being placed.
Well,
Phyllis, we will provide that information to you directly. Daphne, I also want to point out very clearly that our building design for the hotel is an L-shaped building, and the L turns down Olin Avenue, and the L portion is adjacent to Phyllis Weber's commercial property. So all we're doing is having the setback appropriate to a commercial building, given that there's state law that requires that to be changed. That's why it's being changed. I don't need it to change if the city was accepting that it's already a commercial property. The way the building has been designed, it does not impact her residential unit that she owns, that her daughter happens to occupy. That setback is not anywhere near the setback that we have on the commercial property. And it was done that way purposely. So nobody's trying to do anything to any neighbor or not have them aware of it. It is required, as the city pointed out, that the applicant install the sign. And Jennifer reached out and let her know that that would be taking place. So nobody's trying to do anything onto Phyllis Weber's property. We're just trying to move our project forward and adhere to what is already there today, which is a commercial office building.
Mark, is it, as I understood it, the portion of the hotel that is behind 382 Spar is a little lower than the rest of it. Is that true?
That is correct. That is true. Yes.
For talking purposes, if someone on the applicant team wants to pull up maybe that image from the top view where we can carve out the L-shaped, that might be useful.
Okay. I'd be happy to do that. Hold on 1 second.
Thank
and
you.
While you're doing that, Mark, I completely understood all that. If you look at the sign, it's very misleading and it created problems with neighbors. That's the problem. Not your fault. I don't think you produced the sign. I don't know who produced that sign, but it created a lot of problems.
Okay, it's just to clarify the massing of the building. This portion, this L portion, is the tallest portion of the building. This is a 1-story element here, which is about 20 feet tall. And this is next to the single family residences here. So this portion is the highest portion, is directly adjacent to 390 Spar here.
And the portion that's behind how high is the portion that's behind 382 Spar?
20 feet. Plus an additional 8 feet for the screen wall. So it'll be about 28 feet.
So the main commercial part, the main hotel is just behind the commercial building.
Exactly, right there.
It makes a difference for the people living in 382.
Right.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Was someone talking?
I gather there's 5 stories above a commercial, above the commercial stores, and I mean the lower level of the hotel is shops and that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a total of 7 stories, right? So here's the commercial level here. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 levels of hotel above that. So 7 stories total.
But it shows the one in the back is having 5.
No, it does not. Let me see if
What are those? It shows, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, I see. Phyllis is referring to really the change of material that we've got, Joan. The top 5 levels, as you look at the building from Winchester or from Ullen, is a different material, a lighter material than what's on the bottom 2 floors.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, and that's one of the methods that we like to employ to help kind of break down the overall look of the building and make it more interesting, sort of thing.
Okay, when I get my planning degree, I'll understand that.
Thank you, Phyllis.
Yeah, exactly. This
And
this
how long
shows
is
it.
that? How long is that sign going to be on my property?
Ruth, if you're still on, is that just until the project is either approved or denied by council? Does it?
Yeah, that's until that's as long as you have to keep it up is until a decision is made.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I thought it was originally some. Oh, okay. I thought it would be at most 30 days. And then well, somebody needs to let the neighbors know what, because it's not fun to live where the neighbors don't like you.
I don't see any other hands up. If anyone, oh, okay, I see, looks like, Bill, go ahead. You should be able to speak.
Okay. Yeah, one question I had kind of left unsaid from or unasked from last time. You know, I guess you guys walked into it with it was going to be 7 stories, and you know, knowing full well that and clarify for me, is the urban village plan, is that a guideline, or is that a requirement that it be 5 stories on that location?
And are you talking about the 425 South Winchester Boulevard site?
Yes.
Okay. Let me pull up the urban village plan. Unfortunately, I do not have this memorized. So I can just look up that answer for you really quick. So give me just a moment.
And Bill, were you asking if that's a requirement that it has to be that tall, or
No,
because
that's the limitation.
yeah, so the urban village would set a maximum height limit for, you know, a given parcel.
Yeah, and I think that was it 5 stories at that location?
It's typically by feet, and then we just put the generally. So if it was I think, I don't know, 65 feet, that could say, or approximately 5 stories, but it's by feet, not necessarily stories, since buildings can, you know, vary.
So the gist of my question really is, was there a plan B? I mean, what's a contingency plan if this gets rejected? And, you know, is that throw Mark's plan out the window and the hotel developer leaves and they say, well, it's got to be 7 stories or we're not interested? You know, I mean, it seems
Bill,
like a
Bill,
lot
I-
of this
Bill,
stuff
I
is
can-
already baked in the cake from maybe some time ago. Obviously, there's been a lot of work put into this. And I mean, you have to be, you know, unless this thing has already been given the green light by all concerned, I mean, you have to have some contingency plans. There's been far too much work put into it. And to go into it and just automatically just disregard all the work that went into the urban village plan. I mean, is that where we're at now? Is we're just going to go in there and just disregard it, you know, regardless of the neighbors and any other urban village that happens to exist in San Jose?
Bill, I'd like to address that comment,
Sure.
and it's a very good comment. And from my ownership, from the time that I purchased the property, I took through a residential project of 5 stories that met all the requirements of the urban village plan at 65 feet. Unfortunately, since the time that the plan was adopted, and I believe the date was 2017, in that 6-year period of time, we've had a tremendous change in the economy. We've had a very much huge change with respect to construction costs in the Bay Area. And lastly, the plan had a limitation on the total number of units per acre that one could build in that designation. So the clean example of that is that within the 5-story building, there was a limitation on the total number of units versus just building what you can design in the envelope of that building. So I went through, got that approved. It's not financially feasible to build that project. I've been trying to wait to see whether or not there's any movement and construction costs, et cetera, to allow that to move forward. The decision was no, that isn't available. So I looked at it being a corner parcel, being adjacent to commercial building to my south, and looked at the opportunity for a hotel in this location. And that's why I'm asking for a 20-foot height adjustment to the 65. That's why it's called the general plan amendment. I'm trying to amend the general plan to allow a height that will allow a project to move forward that's actually able to be built. So that's the bottom line. So there's no hotel operator that's going to go away. I'm the owner of the property. I'm not planning on going away, but I don't have an operating service station because the tanks need to be removed. They no longer function. And I know I don't have a residential project that can be built. So that's why I'm pushing forward with a very high-end, very good-looking project for that corner location. And we believe it's going to be, I believe it's going to be a very nice addition to the neighborhood.
Thanks for the explanation. Again, I live on Hanson. I don't know if the SPAR residents are on tonight, aside from Phyllis, of course. Obviously, they were very heated about it, and you know, the kind of shade that it, you know, drops on their neighborhood and the privacy issues we talked about last time and so forth. You know, it's unfortunate that, you know, you've been put in a position perhaps that you know, you've got limited uses for that, you know, strip of land and so forth. I agree, it's much nicer than a gas station. But, you know, there are obviously concerns, and just to see kind of the whole urban village boundaries or, you know, limitations and so forth, you know, as far as how it interacts with the residential neighborhoods. You know, it's unfortunate that, you know, it has to come to this, but I do appreciate your explanation. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill.
Can I make a clarification or show you some diagrams about the shadow study that we did?
Sure, because I don't think we saw that last time, did we?
Yeah, we did not have that at that time. Let me
I know if I was trying to grow a garden, I would perhaps be upset.
Okay. So let me know if you don't understand some of the things I'm gonna go through here, but this basically shows you these three diagrams on the top show what the shadow pattern is for the summer. So basically June 21st. And then the one below shows for March and September. And then the next page will show December. So the December is really the worst case scenario because during the winter, the sun is always the lowest, so it casts the deepest shadows. So you can see here in June, you have very limited effect on the residences on this left-hand side here. So basically, if north is straight up, east is to the right, and west is to the left. So basically, the only time that you would actually have to worry about the shadows is in the morning time. And you can see here during June, when the sun is the highest, there are basically no shadows cast onto the residences at 9 a.m. here. And then as it goes towards 12 p.m. and 4 p.m., you can see that all the shadows are towards Winchester and towards the north. So it basically avoids the residential zones. So when you get into the March and September, you can see that it starts to encroach a little bit into the residential here at 9 a.m. This red outline shows what it's at 65 feet. And then this outline over here shows what it's at 85 feet. So there's very little impact here by going the extra additional 20 feet there. And you can see again, the worst case scenario for 9 a.m. is just a little bit of encroachment into the residences over here. Now, when you get to the winter time, again, the winter time, it's got the lowest sun angles. You're going to get a lot more, shade in those situations. You can see that again at 9 a.m. it does extend out to these couple of residences over here. But you can see that from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., the sun and the shadows will start to move towards the north. And again, for the afternoon, you'll have no issues with shadows there.
The one that's going to feel the
Okay, that's helpful. Thank
the
you.
one that's going to feel the shadows is my office building.
Not necessarily. You mean this one right here? Because you can see here that again, only in the very, very early mornings are you going to get actual shadows in this corner over here. You can see here during the winter time, you're actually getting no shadows in this corner.
Well, that's good to know because my tenants are concerned about that.
Sure. But it's actually in the best location because again, it's on the west side of our project. And really, the sun that's probably the most valuable is during the afternoons. The mornings is going to be a little bit cooler, so you're not too concerned about the sun. But again, it has pretty minimal impact with the residences there.
Thank you.
Excellent. I think that slide's very helpful. Daphne, I'm not sure if your hand's been up or if you're raising again. You should be able to speak now.
I just wanted to make sure that you've spoken with the that third residence in, because that's the one that's the most impacted. That's not Phyllis's residence, because they're actually, I know it's minimal, but they've got about 3 hours of complete shade during the December. That one's heavily impacted. So I'm just hoping that you've had conversations and they've seen these shadow studies, because it's really important. I'm just going to make a sort of a general comment about the neighborhood and our feelings about the urban village. And I sat on the Winchester Urban Village Committee for 18 months. So I was on that committee that developed a lot of this. So I'm well aware of what's going on. What we didn't expect was a lot of general plan amendments. We already were not happy with the heights that the planning department put in the urban village, even when the developers and that were sitting on the committee, as well as the residents that were sitting on the committee, didn't want the heights that high. The planning department came back with higher heights every time we came back into those meetings. And now we're getting general plan amendments that are going even higher. And I'm not saying this, and Mark, I'm not saying this necessarily about your hotel, but our fear, and you would be same, that the next place goes, well, we're going to go 10 feet higher than this building. And then the next one goes, well, we're going to go 20 feet higher than the next building. And the next thing you know, we have a 15-story building on where CD's is, or something like that. So that's the big problem that we're having opening up the general plan. It's a huge citywide precedent that, well, we'll just open up and change anything that we've already written. If you look at the Winchester Urban Village plan, you'll notice that there was a huge addendum to it that stated that a lot of the people that were on the committee didn't agree with the plan to begin with. And it's in the back of that. So, and this was this is one of the reasons that we were upset with it, knowing that it could be opened up and changed. So that just means that that plan that was developed is sort of meaningless in the long run. It really is maybe a guideline, or we wasted all of our time for 18 months coming up with that thing. So, and I was told by a developer 2 or 3 years ago that the city's plan is to take that neighborhood down. So they said, just watch, we're going to put all these tall buildings up. They're going to rezone all those single family residential into where you could put up apartments and townhouses, and it's all going to go. And they said they were told that by the planning department. So you can see where we're nervous, Mark, notwithstanding your project. Okay. So
No,
that's what makes us nervous.
I appreciate that, Daphne. And I also wanted to be very clear. I did have a direct meeting with the property owner on Spar. She came to my office. We walked through the plans directly. And thus far, she's been quiet from the standpoint of that showing support of what it is that we're doing and going forward there. I do also appreciate your comments with respect to the what if, what happens down the road. And that's exactly why the city takes each application independently and works with the applicant to discuss exactly what is feasible on their site or not. Back to the city's site, if you look at the colored map, they have a higher colored, given that it's a corner of Stevens Creek and Winchester. And again, I'm looking at the corner of Olin Avenue and Winchester being a corner that would be well suited for a building that we're proposing going forward. But I do appreciate your comments. And I also want to make it really clear for the staff that this is a new slide, but we also intend to share this slide with your group, Daphne and Chris, at your home. Welcome the opportunity to answer any further questions and go into greater detail with respect to the design of the project.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. I'm hoping the city understands where the neighborhood's coming from, though, because it's really important. We don't seem to get any answer from planning on any of this. It's just silence.
Yes, thanks a lot, Mark, for the response, and Daphne for the comments as well. Again, this is being recorded. We will take all these notes back to the team working on this project, and all of these will be considered. I just looked down. It is 7:31. To respect everyone's time, we can take any last comments for just a moment. But I do want to let you all go. And if anyone does need to hop off, please chime in. If there are any final comments, let us know. Otherwise, let me just put up.
This is Phyllis Weber. I just want to say that Mark and I have been in agreement. So, you know, he might think that I'm not in agreement with him. We talked about the zoning and what it could mean for us in a very, very long future. But at the moment, I'm not going anywhere.
Thank you, Phyllis. If everyone can see on the screen here, I have provided our contact information. So please reach out to us by email or phone with any questions or follow-up comments. Listed at the top is Alec. Alec is the planner and project manager assigned to the special use permit for the hotel. Rena, that was with us tonight, is taking care of the general plan and general plan text amendments. And again, I am Court. I am doing the CEQA and environmental review for the project. Please reach out to any of us and we will get your questions answered. Other than that, thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. I'll stay on for just a moment, but we'll call the meeting here. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, Court, can you hear me?
I can. Is this I'm not exactly
Bill.
sure. Bill, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. I can hear you.
So is there going to be, you know, what are the, assuming you don't have another in-person meeting, which, you know, obviously they've strongly suggested you do, what are the other opportunities for community engagement along the process, or is this the last one?
Sure. No, great question. So no, if it wasn't clear, and sorry, because
I saw the flow chart before, and
Yeah.
I saw where the community engagement gets presented, but I wasn't sure if that was further community engagement or just presenting what's already been said here.
No, so and yeah, we should
There was a
I
flow
guess
chart you had
emphasize
there.
more.
It
Yeah, I
kinda-
can go back to it. But however, the public can you know,
This
sorry
guy.
to the public can comment at any time throughout the process. So those are the times, those are kind of the I mean, this is a standard slide. So the Planning Commission and City Council will be actual hearings that the public can attend, you know, and make comments in person or on Zoom at those meetings. However, you can reach out to us or any of your neighbors or interested members of the community can reach out to us at any time by phone or email for any project. And yeah, so that you're not, you know, restricted to only these certain times here. I think we do have some comment on here that was probably supposed to be included to just emphasize that point. But no, anytime throughout the process, you know, tomorrow, next week at Planning Commission, you know, whenever you have questions or comments, please reach out to us. It's part of our job.
And where are we on this chart right now?
So right now we're on the far left side. We're in project review. So they're reviewing, the general plan team, Rena and her team are reviewing for general plan consistency, the amendment. At the same time, Alec is reviewing the actual plans for the hotel itself. And then I and my team are reviewing the environmental documents that will, again, those will be posted for public review as well and comment. In case anyone is, you know, concerned with any environmental aspects of the project. So we are here now. Environmental review will be, the draft document should be completed within the next couple of weeks. We will put that out on our website and it will be available in person at a couple locations, including at City Hall and the library closest to the project site. I'm not sure which library that is. Off the top of my head. And so that will, you know, be available. And then once we have the environmental document and all comments received and the general plan staff report completed, that's when we'll go to Planning Commission. And that will be noticed. And then again, I believe I can't say for sure, but I think it's a hybrid meeting where it's in person or on Zoom, and not positive though.
Okay, that helps. Thank you.
And then I believe, I don't know if Rena, unless there's maybe different timing, typically between planning commission and city council, it's approximately a month. We do have to get things scheduled in advance. So if certain meetings are full, it could potentially get pushed, but I think it's generally about a month between those two.
Yes, that's from what I understand. Yes, that's the typical timeline, is about a month in between as well. Okay. So I believe Bill has our contact information, and I think
Yeah, I can. Bill, yeah, hopefully you got this. I'll put it up here again though.
I got it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
Great.
great. I think we can go ahead and close out this meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I'll close it out. Everyone who's still on, again, thanks for staying till the very end. Yeah, please let us know if you have any questions. We'll be here. Have a good night. Thanks.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yo.
Thank you.